I would like to call to order the Winthrop School Committee meeting of Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being held in the Harvey Hearing Room at the Town Hall, 1 Metcalf Square in Winthrop, Massachusetts, and it is being televised live. May I have the roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri? Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Ms. Petrie?
Here.
Ms. Swope? Ms. Barry?
Present.
Ms. Powell?
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Berry, can you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask that you please remain standing for a moment of silence in recognition of the victims of 9/11. This was a tragic and life-changing day for our country, and it is a day in which we remember the victims and the heroes who came to their aid, and the way in which our country has come together and the unity which we fight to continue today. Thank you. We have no one to make public comment tonight, but we do have a very special delegate and visitor, Ms. Gallivan.
I don't know about that special.
Our assistant superintendent is here to give us an update on the opening of the schools.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just to say that it was the smoothest opening by far that I have seen in, this is my sixth year here, starting with it. So the 6 years that I've been here, it was definitely by far the smoothest. We had no issues with, students or any of our issues with arrival and dismissal that we've had in the past. Things have been pretty smooth. I mean, we always have the loop, but the loop is the loop. But it seemed to be really well run this year. I haven't heard any issues and complaints. So the principals were really happy about that. Also, we've, taken on some new curriculum and some new materials, and right now we're feeling very comfortable and very good about it. We're trying to do ongoing professional development with the teachers at all levels. They are very willing and, digging in and spending a lot of time on both in school and on their own time to get a real good feeling for, especially the illustrative math curriculum that's now being instituted K through grade 8. And it's a bigger undertaking, I think, than a lot of people would imagine it to be. So I'm really proud of the effort that a lot of them are putting in. We had 2 changes this year with 2 of our elementary personnel being John Lettieri, our math coach, and Ann Sullivan, our instructional technology, oh my gosh.
Technology.
It's a long Monday. Yes, our instructional technology teacher who helps to integrate technology for the classroom teachers and work with them. This year, they are spanning K to 5, so they are working at both the ATC and the Gorman-Fort Banks, where they had been previously only ATC employees. And I think we're going to see a lot of wonderful results from this and from the additional support being added to the Gorman-Fort Banks, and the kids having the opportunity to have more support around the technology that's being used in the classrooms, and to help the teachers to support how they can integrate technology better in the classroom, especially at the younger levels. And I think doing this transition to the illustrative math would be almost impossible without the support of Mrs. Lettieri as the math coach, and bringing what she's not only her breadth of knowledge around math, but of this program and the work that she's been doing with the ATC over the last few years and integrating it there, I think is going to make a huge difference at how much more smoothly, hopefully, we can make the implementation go. And I mean, aside from that, the principals just wanted to report that they are feeling really positive about how this year started. Mr. Crombie said by far, he felt just a great opening on the part of both staff and students, and the same from Mr. Curley and Mrs. O'Leary at the ATC and the middle school. They, for Mrs. O'Leary, she's really feeling like now she's comfortable, and she's, you know, this is her third year and really feeling like things are running smoothly, and she's feeling really positive about it. And Mr. McEnany, in his first year at the GFB, I think has done an outstanding job. It was really smooth. Lisa and I were there this morning, visited the school and walking around, and it just seems like everything is moving along really well. They've had a lot of change in staff and a lot of turnover, and everyone was, you know, everyone's been pitching in.
Lots of positive comments.
Yeah,
from-
really.
From staff, because anytime you change with a principal, obviously there's gonna be a cultural change in the building, could be nerve-wracking for folks, not knowing too much about this individual's coming in now to run the school, and of course with the change with the assistant principal and the building level special ed chairperson. Those are the three major administrative positions in the building. But we've received throughout the summer, and I talked about this last meeting, but also when we're walking through the buildings, people just have a better feeling now. I think they got to know him a little bit, and they're feeling, with any type of change comes, you know, the unknown, and people worry. But I do think this was an opportunity for a little bit of change for the staff as well. So I did see a positive attitude, and lots of just really good feedback. It's just nice to get that.
All of the after-school enrichment opportunities are starting this week at the ATC. The middle school is getting some of theirs up and running and putting out requests from some of the teachers of other levels of interest or programs that they'd like to run after school, as well as we are going to be beginning our parent English classes for our any of our families that would be interested in learning English as a second language for the parents. We'll be starting those up again. We ran them all through the summer this year as well, because we've had such a strong, steady level of interest. So it's been really great. So they're excited to get those up and running, so we're hoping to have that running the last week of September. It'll start the first Wednesday. And I think for right now, those are the biggest.
I think you hit on the biggest one.
Yeah,
for
unless
the
there's
opening.
something that anybody wanted to ask about, maybe that would.
Does the committee have any questions? Thank you very much for the update, I appreciate that. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 28th, 2023?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Leonard, second by Ms. Petrie. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Abstain.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve warrant SVW 24-3 in the amount of $137,995.19?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Petrie, second by Ms. Leonard. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve the Gorman Fort Banks PTO and ATC PTO's trunk or treat?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Martucci, second by Ms. Petrie. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections? Hearing none, motion passes. We have just some committee reports tonight. Do we have a superintendent's report?
We do. I will start with some general updates and get a little more specific as we go through. Substitutes, which is something that we talk about throughout the summer, as well as just about every day during the school year, remain a concern for us district-wide, just in terms of having enough substitutes for coverage, you know, of over 250 employees that are the day-to-day employees of the school. So we've been doing a little research on it over the summer, looking at other school districts and seeing if they're using any platforms or any agencies to help. And we've got some good feedback, and one bit of that came from the new principal at the Gorman Fort Banks. Over in Arlington, they used a program called Frontline, and it's an absentee management system. And the way it works is people have an app on their phone or a call-in line that they can call into. And it goes into a system that then reaches out and grabs known substitutes, and we have to do all the data and put all the data in of the substitutes. However, it's not just your own in-district employees. You can actually get folks from other school districts or other people that are interested in substituting from outside the area of Winthrop, which has been a struggle for us. And they can pick some of the dates, so you have a full calendar, as principals know that people are gonna be out, and as teachers report that they're gonna be out sick or on a personal day, once it's accepted, they can put it into this calendar, and if you're someone from the outside who likes to substitute, you can log into Frontline and say, oh gee, I'm gonna be around, I'm free this week, I'd like to pick up these 3 dates at the Gorman Fort Banks. If you're not quarried, fingerprinted, and vetted out through us, that sends us an alert, so there's a flow system for it. And we can reach out to that person and get them properly onboarded prior to. The other things it does is it syncs with our payroll system, and it also syncs with our iPass system. So most payroll systems calculate your attendance here. That's not the case with the payroll system. We have another system that has to do that. When we switch over to Power School, that might become a more smooth. However, Frontline integrates with both our payroll system as well as iPass. So it will alleviate some of the paper that right now, when a teacher is absent, it gets hand logged in by our payroll clerk into iPass. So these systems will integrate. It gives anyone who works in the system who is going to be absent as a teacher, most of them, most people know the night before if you're not feeling well. It alleviates calling substitutes at 7 o'clock in the morning and waking someone up so that they can take a quick shower and get in. You can plan them ahead of time. But it also, for the staff members that work in this building, every time you put your attendance in, it connects to iPass, it connects to our payroll system, and really integrates those 2 things. So on their phone, they can have an app that gives them their current number of sick days they have left, how many personal days they have left. If they go to put in a sick day and they don't have any in their sick bank, in their sick account, it doesn't allow them to. And no one is approved until it goes directly to the principal. So there's a lot of work to be done on doing a little bit more training. I did a 2-hour training this week on it, just to see if it was something that was doable for us. And then having the conversations about the cost of the program. So right now I'm looking at a 40% discount. Started off as a 20% discount. With a little bit of crying and giving them a whole understanding of Winthrop, and didn't sugarcoat anything. We're down to a 40% discount, so we're looking at about $8,000 per school year. Laurie and I will be sitting down and looking at grants, and then we'll weigh out the cost effectiveness of something like that. How many hours is it gonna take off of the payroll clerk? How many hours is it gonna take off the secretaries in the school? And we may attempt to do it for a year and see how it works, which is something we can do if they're willing to do contracts the way I like to do them, a 3-year contract, with the first year being the year that we're gonna really look into it with an opt-out at the end if we don't believe that it is beneficial. I do think that it will take a lot of time and energy away. Right now, principals are struggling. There's people who have scheduled jury duty, there's people who have scheduled personal days, which they're allowed to take, people who have maternity leaves, so it helps us with maternity leaves, and outreaching beyond the bridge is, for me, a real game changer. It will involve work for, the Human Resource Department to have to onboard people and outreach to them. The biggest things that we need from people is an active inquiry and updated fingerprints before anyone is allowed to be in the schools with children. So as we get a little bit deeper into it, the principals are gonna be looking at it a little more with us over the next week. And I'll bring to my next meeting what the thoughts are and where we're at with Frontline in terms of when they can get us onboarded. As you're aware, and I've spoken about this in the past, Senator Edwards had secured an earmark for us for translation and other issues related to the number of families we have in town that we're struggling to be able to connect with. Laurie and I and the principals have talked a lot about enrollment. That seems to be one of our biggest challenges, is enrolling families that don't speak our language, primarily Portuguese, Spanish, Arabic, and those and Albanian, those are the top 4. We have people here who do speak that, but anytime we need to use them, we have to find them, pull them out of a class, get them somewhere else, and it causes anxiety with our families. Because if nobody can speak your language when you come in, we have to tell you to come back until we can get somebody, if we can't get someone in the moment. And that's not the most welcoming way to come into a school district for the first time. So we have 2 people who work in the system part-time, a cafeteria staff member and somebody who does some translation for us now. Laurie and I have spent a tremendous amount of time working on how we can engage these two women along with our parent information person that we hired last year to help us do this. Now it's grown, the numbers have grown significantly, and how to engage these 3 employees to be able to have a parent information center in our school that is open at certain times so that parents can be told we will have somebody here during these hours for enrollment or any new coming families that would need that assistance. They can speak Arabic, Portuguese, Spanish, Albanian,
Haitian Creole,
Haitian Creole,
some French.
and we also have some new translation software that they can use. They've already done a lot of this work, but they're doing it in piecemeal in each building, and we want to centralize it so that there's an actual center, so that if someone comes in, and inside that center, I took pictures today of some of the work they've already done in one central space that they have been using sort of as their hub for information about homelessness, information about food insecurity, information about additional educational opportunities outside of Winthrop for adults, our English language classes for
Where to
parents.
take kids for physicals and
Physicals,
immunization and
yeah.
where they can get
So-
appointments from ourselves.
So we're working on that, and I do think it would be a tremendous benefit. Again, it's not just about the time that it's taking people to do it, it's about the optics of the welcoming school environment for our students. And it moves the process along much faster for families to actually get kids enrolled in school and enrolled in a manner that's the way we do business here in our school district, with proper documentation. And if they don't have that proper documentation, do they fit a category that it's not required to have that documentation? And oftentimes, we can't communicate that information in the moment with our families, and that creates a concern for the families, a delay in students entering, because people have to call each other, should I let the student in? They don't have immunizations, or they don't have, they might be homeless, and they don't have any records. By the time they get to Laurie or myself, who right now do most of that, there's a day or two waiting, and the kids should be in school for those students who can get in. And if there is a question about somebody's residency, how do we properly look into that? And when you look at the category of person coming through the door, you have to know what this person's situation is to decide whether or not you need to take an extra step or not. And sometimes we lose that in the moment. So the earmark has not come through to the town yet, because I have a tendency to watch why other superintendents are quitting or being fired. You really can't spend money that you don't have. We have some small amount of money utilized in ESSER 3, so things have come in a little bit less than we expected. So we're working on identifying some funding source to get that up and running now, so that when that earmark of money comes in, we can then use that money to continue to pay. It'll be a small amount of money compared to what I anticipate we're getting. I believe we're getting $250,000 in the earmark. Earmarks are one-time allotments of money, so spending it all at once is not fiscally responsible. We would hope that it would come year to year, but we can't guarantee that. So we're working on it. I'll be speaking, Laurie and I, and the principals will be speaking about how we're gonna utilize those funds for the emergent matters we have, and then how can we take that money and make it sustain itself for additional things that we need. So we're pretty excited about that. I should have by the next meeting a clearer vision of what that's gonna look like, and then how we will be communicating that, to our principals and to our school secretaries, so that they're not having to make decisions that they really don't want to make, because they don't know the answers to some of the questions that are being asked, and to be able to funnel people to a place that's inviting and has additional information that they need. So more to come on that final plan. The administrative team has begun the process of having their site council meetings, and we heard some feedback from the school committee about the school improvement plans and wanting to ramp those up a little bit and add some additional information to those. So we've started that process by looking at other school improvement plans. We just started that process at looking at those, so there's always somebody who's done a very good job at something. So I'm a firm believer in looking how other people have done it, and then getting that into a document that is similar, if not exactly the same in each building, but contains different information based on how that building is functioning into grade level and the rest. So we're really working on that. The site council meetings have started already, so they're gathering information, but that final document that we'll be presenting to you much earlier this year than we have in the past, because it really is used to drive the budget in terms of what the needs and wants are of each school building. So we will continue to work on that. I want to give a shout out to Tara Bowie, who is our school lead nurse slash substitute nurse slash Board of Health advisory person. So we had been talking an awful lot last year and the year before, and quite frankly, for several years, about the lack of counseling services available to kids. And really, the Winthrop kids have a really hard time, because there's not a lot of places around us, and if there is, there's not a lot of ability to get to those places. And now most of those places are jam-packed, and the waiting lists are extremely long. And we have some students who need counseling beyond the walls of the school. So clinical-based counseling versus school-based adjustment counseling, sometimes they intermingle, but many a times, students are in need of counseling supports that are beyond what a school can provide. So I have a long history of involvement with MGIHP, which is Mass General Institute of Health Professions. They used to work here as interns in their reading, professional development, where they would send interns here who were speech pathologists getting a dual degree in reading, and they used Winthrop as their place to do their internship for years. So we reached back out to them and asked about other opportunities they have, because there had to be something else that they can offer. So we had a couple of meetings this summer with folks from MGIHP, and we were looking at helping our students get physicals. That's a big issue. And the other issue is mental health support. So helping students get physicals is something that they have reached out to us and are able to at least provide more direction and opportunities for families through Mass General. And they have also given us the opportunity to, and I put it in your packet, the virtual supportive counseling sessions at the Ruth Sleep and Nursing Center for Clinical Education and Wellness. They are offering free virtual one-to-one support counseling for clients that are between the ages of 6 and 17, and it's a Zoom meeting, so that cuts the ability, the difficulty of parents getting into Mass General or somewhere to a clinic, and they're using their own healthcare professionals to do that service. So Tara has reached out to the nurses and the counselors and the principals and assistant principals, and we actually have a Google Doc that's only viewed by Tara, that if there is a student of need, they can ping Tara, and Tara will reach out to try to connect with the parent and provide the parent with the information about the supportive counseling clinic. And I have not checked in with her this week to find out what other methods she's using to get this out there. I do think it's something that we are going to be able to take advantage of. More to come once we have some students utilizing the service. And MGIHP has been great in terms of feedback with us and staying connected with us to see, what other needs they can support us with. So I was very happy about that. Let me see. Enrollment, just as another quick topic, a question was asked last week about class size. We need to settle in a little bit to see what that looked like. So I gave you I'm not very good with Excel, I'm better with other things, so just ignore my borders. But just gave you a snapshot of where we were at, and I think I did this on Thursday, so these numbers change every day. I gave you the total number of students in each grade, the total number by school, and then I gave you the average class size, and again, that's an average class size. If you look at, for instance, pre-K is one of the ones that requires a little bit of explanation. We have 59 students in pre-K, and our preschools are integrated preschools. We also have self-contained preschool classrooms too for students who are not yet ready to integrate with other peers yet, and that's the goal. So those class sizes range from a classroom of 7, like the partnership classroom at the Gorman-Fort Bank School for students with autism, to 15, which is 15 would be in a program like the Little Vikings classroom. About 15 students in that classroom, 8 students identified as students in need with IEPs, and 6 students or more that are gen ed students and peer role models. The high school's a little bit more difficult when you want to look at class size because it's by subject. So, and that can vary. You can have a class size of 23, but you may have a class of, AP Science that might be 13. So to break it down by every single classroom is a bit more of a trick, and I'm not really good at that, but if we need that information, we certainly can get that. I just want to give you a little tidbit of information in terms of total enrollment. So the total enrollment as of today is 1,989 students. I'm going to roll you back to 21-22. In 21-22, we had 1,883. In 22-23, we had 1,941 students. This is based on the October 1 report, and we're close enough to October, but I'll put a little caveat with that. So we increased, in 22-23, we increased by 58 students from the 21-22 school year to the 22-23 school year. Mind you, residency remains a constant in this district. And so although the numbers look as they do, we also withdraw a lot of students. Some students withdraw on their own, and some students withdraw because they've been reminded that they don't live here. So as of today, 23-24, 1,989 students is up 48 students from last year. Again, we've just done a large residency notification. I don't have the numbers on the number of students that have withdrawn due to where they live, but that will come in the next few weeks. But we're actually up 106 from the 21-22 school year. So that's a fair amount of students. So you see the trend is headed upward. I can tell you that if we did not do our due diligence with residency, we would be well over 2,000 students, well over. And I can attest to that because I'm the one that sends the letter identifying that there's a need to enroll your student in the community in which you live. This year we sent out postcards, so we always re-register 3, 6, and 9. And we always, first-time enrollment, register kindergarten students. Where some of the things we haven't done is really look into students who aren't in grades 3, 6, or 9, or students who have just entered the school. Not intentionally, but it was the result of sending out a welcome back to school postcard to all the students that were enrolled in the Winthrop Public Schools. We've received many of those cards back, returned to us because they couldn't be received at the resident. Now that can be for a number of reasons. People could have changed their address. We have many people who move, from Waldemar Ave to Putnam Street, and we just haven't updated yet because the first week of school you have to fill out that blessed paperwork that says if you've changed your email, if you've changed your address. So we're updating those, but we will be checking those residency cards that got returned to us to ensure that we have the proper address for students, because that in and of itself is a safety concern if we don't. I can tell you the return to sender cards, which was, we were the sender, as of today, I believe I'm close to 100 return to sender cards, which means you've either changed your address to another Winthrop address, which is totally fine, we just have to have you fill out the documentation for that. Our system might have had a few addresses that hadn't been updated at the end of the school year. That's a real good possibility. And then we've had some folks that have moved and just failed to sort of inform us. And we just need to know where they're living so that we can direct them properly to either give us updated information or to enroll their students in the community that they live in. If we had not been going through that process, like I said, I think you'd see those numbers dramatically higher. We are not running out of space in our buildings, but there is a real strong potential for that to happen if we don't stay in tune to our residency requirements. Couple more things. Couple of good news things. At the Gorman-Fort Banks, Laurie already talked about administration feeling like things have gone smoothly. Upcoming event at the Gorman-Fort Banks is curriculum night on the 19th of September at 5:30. And the ice cream social is at 5:30 on the 19th. And then curriculum night, I correct myself one more time. Curriculum night is the 19th at 5:30. And the ice cream social is Friday, 9/15, the 15th of September at 6 o'clock. The Fort reports that they have been receiving a steady stream of new registrations, and they are up to 503. That was from Mark. He was off by 3 people because they're actually 506, but from the time I did my data to his. He felt like the first week was a huge success. At the Cummings School, the after-school club enrollment is well underway. After-school clubs will start Monday the 11th. Morning, gym, and breakfast have been very well attended by our students. Their upcoming events, back-to-school night for parents, is on Thursday, September 14th. And parents will meet with administration and they'll visit their children's classrooms. Just a reminder, it's a parent-only event because there's a lot parents need to pay attention to in that event. Student highlights, many positive office referrals, which is a big deal. So usually in my day, when you get sent to the office, you're in trouble. But students get sent down to the office to receive a high five for positive behavior or something that they have done both academically and socially. So that's been a lot of that going on at the Cummings School. And Andrea O'Leary reports that families have adjusted well to drop off and pick up. They were reminded in their email this week to not idle. We remind people not to idle their cars or get out of them when they're running a lot. Sometimes parents' listening ears seem to be off because they do idle, and we try to pay as much attention to that as we can. At the middle school, Brian reports that his back-to-school night is Thursday, September 21st, and the parents are going to be following their child's schedule to learn about their child's classes. And cross-country is underway, as well as other clubs and activities, and there'll be additional sign-ups over the next few weeks for middle school students. Brian has been looking at his preliminary MCAS scores, as we all have, and he just couldn't contain himself, and he wants to let you know that there's been some significant improvement in scores. We will be highlighting that, but we have to share out with parents that information later in September when we're able to get that information out, and I think you'll hear the other principals stating the same. At the high school, class officer elections are this week. Mr. Crombie was excited about that. Curriculum night is scheduled for October 11th, so curriculum night at the high school is similar to the other schools, and that is from 6 to 8. A couple of positions that we still have open. We are still seeking 2 special education teachers at the Cummings School, 1 multi-language teacher at the Cummings School, 1 general education teacher for 3rd grade at the Cummings School, and just hold that thought for a minute, and 1 ESP at the middle school. Cafeteria workers as well. We've had a couple of cafeteria workers leave their positions, and we have a couple of illnesses that we need to fill. So if anyone wants to do some work in our cafeteria, Laura is great, Deb's amazing to work with at the high school and the middle school. So they would like anybody who is interested to please contact them. While we're on staffing, 2 things. One is Kristen Reynolds, who is current 3rd grade teacher at the Arthur T. Cummings, had applied for the interim assistant principal position at the Gorman Fort Banks. It has been Kristen's career wish for the past few years, and at this point in time, with the position becoming open, as late as it became open, she felt this was an opportunity for her to apply for that and be a familiar face in a building that has 2 new administrators. The principal and the special ed chairperson are both new. Kristen also has a very strong background in math and in illustrative math, and she certainly looks forward to being able to utilize those skills in working with the teachers and already having connections. Don't forget, Kristen worked there for a number of years, and a fair amount of that staff is still working there, and she believes that those items that she has that will be very valuable to the teachers. You know, the person that they know, somebody that they feel good about, as well as somebody with that background in math that can help support what we're doing with the math coach. So I had approved that recommendation, but there is an understanding that we need to have a teacher in Kristen's place prior to Kristen going. And that's hard, but because we know there's a need, administratively. We have a couple of people stepping up to help support Mr. McEnany with the administrative work that needs to be done there. There is a lot that goes on with pre-K to 2. I was there this morning and providing support for a period of time and sort of bringing my old hat back of special education and working with a student and some counselors that were in need. We understand that, but we also understand that we have 23 students in a third grade classroom who have a teacher right now who's going to be moving on, and I'm assuming the parents, we orchestrated it pretty well, that the parents were informed. At the same time, the staff in each building was informed, and that was on Friday. And we felt like parents definitely needed to know, so Mrs. O'Leary wrote a nice memo to the parents alerting them that Kristen Reynolds was chosen to be the interim assistant principal for the year, but also letting them know that we would be finding a third grade teacher prior to her leaving to take that role, and that we would keep the parents informed, and that Mrs. O'Leary is the conduit for parents who have concern. Mrs. Reynolds is concerned as well, as a third grade teacher for a number of years, in how to make that transition smooth for not herself, but for her current students, and to make sure that they are comfortable. So between Mrs. O'Leary, Mrs. Reynolds, Laurie, myself, we will continue that communication with families. We do not have a teacher hired for the third grade position yet, and which is baffling, but I've spoken to many superintendents, and there's a lot of open general education positions in the Commonwealth, which is bizarre to me, but there is. So we are working with an agency right now. You can only go so long without 2 special education teachers, an ML teacher and a third grade teacher, before it starts to get a little bit hairy. So we're working with a couple of different agencies to see if we can onboard somebody through an agency certified and with experience. So Kristen has been working after school hours and on the weekends, communicating with Mr. McEnany and getting up to speed on what's going on. She will be attending the Gorman-Fort Banks curriculum night. The staff has been made aware. I did not ask Ms. O'Leary today, but I will. I thought today was a day that I needed to let her breathe a little bit, but looking at the parent feedback. So that's very important to us. How are the parents feeling about this? And if they are anxious or concerned, that they stay in touch with us, and so that we can hear what their concerns are and take all of that into consideration during this transition time. And then the last bit of information on staffing, I think my report's longer than the entire meeting, has to do with Mr. Noel Velez. I think I've talked to almost everybody except Suzanne. However, Noel has been with us now for 2 years, going into his 3rd year, and an opportunity has arisen for him in another school district. So he is going to be moving on and moving his career to the city of Medford. And I'll let him talk to you in a second, but I met with our town manager. Business manager's position in the school is a big position. It's one that I did for a short period of time and probably never want to do again. But it's a lot. It's a full-time position that requires, experience and understanding, and somebody who has to be okay working directly with me. And part of that issue is I still have my head intently in that budget on a daily basis, because we're always trying to figure out how to get more and do more for our students. So I met with the town manager, who has been incredibly supportive to the school district. It's amazing to have somebody who, similar to Terry Delahanty, who will just sit there and listen and try to strategize with you and not say, this is your problem and you gotta fix it on your own. So we did some strategizing after I called Mass Business at MASBO, which is the Mass Associates School Business Officials group in Massachusetts, and received some lousy news that there are many openings in the Commonwealth and that they are a hard position to fill. And that as of right now, they are putting mostly retired superintendents in open positions for about 2 days a week to cover for people who don't have a position. So after a lengthy conversation, if you remember, Dylan Cook was hired as the town CFO, and he was also supporting the schools, who is town CFO / school business management. And after meeting with Tony and discussing it ad nauseum, we came up with a plan to have Dylan transition into the position when Noel leaves, and then prior to that, having conversation and sharing information. And Dylan will still keep some of his town role, procurement, and some other activities that he does for the town that I'm not totally on board with in terms of understanding. But he's gonna sort of switch from doing some work with the school department to doing the majority of the work. And we're gonna see how that goes. We did meet with Dylan. Dylan was a former assistant business manager, I believe, in Chelsea. Former business manager in Chelsea. So he has the knowledge base, he has the understanding, he has worked with Noel quite a bit this year and worked with the staff in my office. And he feels comfortable taking this change of job description on for the time being, and potentially permanently, if that's the direction that the town manager and I believe we can manage together. So it's a little bit more discussion with the town manager that I have to have, but I likely will be bringing that back to the committee at the next meeting for a formal presentation and understanding. But I wanted to thank Noel just for surviving me, which can be a lot, as people know, in terms of wanting to know the inner details of things, and wish him well on his next endeavor in Medford Public Schools, and give him the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Lisa. That was very kind of you. I wouldn't say being in Winthrop was surviving with you. I think it was thriving with you is the correct term I would use. I wanted to say thank you to Lisa and to Lori Gallivan for the past 2+ years working with them. The amount of experience they've given me and trust they gave me. With, as Lisa said, she's very involved with the budget, and over the past year, she became very comfortable with trusting me with my decision in budget transferring, and I am truly grateful for that. I want to thank the school committee, both those who were here prior and those who are here now, for trusting that my salary journal entries were correct, and that at no point were people not being paid properly. I want to thank the team upstairs, Diane Abbott, Kelly Conway, Beth, who was here, and then Patty as well. You 4 ladies were completely phenomenal to work with. You bring laughter to very, very interesting days in the office, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for the whole principal, the admin teams. You guys were all amazing. I want to give a special shout out to the facilities team, because we built a great relationship. Mikhail, Jim, John, and James. I just had a blast working with all you 4 guys. I'm going to miss you guys tremendously. Just your interesting emails when things would blow up and we would somehow find money. I don't know how me and Lisa did it half the time, but we would always find money, and usually Mikhail would always call me and he would be like, "Hey, you want to go for pizza?" And I knew that meant, oh no, what broke
Must
now?
be a boiler.
I was like, what broke now? He's like, let's go out for pizza and we'll discuss it during pizza. Thank you to Susan, who was here before me, for training me. And then thank you to a few town hall employees who worked with me a lot, Michelle Balin specifically, and Diane and Lori, and Robbie Powers, who were really helpful in my first year transitioning and teaching me how to get things done properly and making sure that we were meeting everything we needed and in regards to our deadlines. And thank you also to the parents who I got to meet, specifically pre-K parents. You guys are the best. I got to meet so many parents dropping off deposits for their pre-K kids and meeting their kids, and their kids if anybody's ever been to my office, I have a lot of toys there, and their kids would always come and play with my toys. I always thought it was entertaining. It brought a smile to my day instead of being crammed in front of a computer for 8 hours a day to see a pre-K kid come around and be able to chat with them and the parents and the excitement. That was so much fun. So thank you to all the pre-K parents who came up to the office the past 2 years. And I wish everyone the best. And as I told Lisa, I'll be here. She has my cell phone number, and the idea of leaving Winthrop high and dry isn't part of my character, who I am. So I'll be around for as long as Winthrop needs me, whether it's a year, 2 years, because there's always random things that I did or that Susan did that are going to come up sometime, or something that might have happened a year ago that Lori or Lisa might reach out to me. And, I just want to, and school committee as well. Anyone can reach out to me at any time. And I will try my best to get back to you and just, help Winthrop as they continue through this transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel, for your service. We really appreciate the time that you have given to Winthrop. I know that this is a very difficult job, and I know that you have shepherded us through some very difficult times. Very much appreciate your service and wish you all the best in your next endeavor.
Thank you. Good job.
Do we have any homeschool applications?
We do, actually. We have 6 homeschool applications for approval this evening. They have a first grade, a second grade, a 7th grade, a 9th grade, a 10th grade, and a 12th grade. All of which are continuing students from the past who just were a little behind in getting their paperwork in, but all of which have provided all the necessary documentation and reviewed all of the programs that they're going to be using, and I recommend accepting.
Can I have a motion to accept these 6 applications?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Berry, second by Ms. Petrie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. I know that you've discussed appointments and resignations, but there are more?
So just one additional, Noel's resignation was one. Francesca Capone, who's an ESP, she's staying with us, but she's taking on a role with Mindies, which is an outside agency that provides social and emotional support within the Atherton Cummings School. So that's the open position for that position. She's coming from the middle school, so that was the middle school open position for an ESP that I spoke of. No retirements, substitute cafeteria workers, substitute anything. We'll take your name, we're gonna get you into a flow chart. It's gonna become easier. We have no leaves of absence.
Wonderful. We have no new business tonight, unfinished business. We have the interim assistant superintendent contract that is ongoing. Do we have public relations?
Did we have public relations, Barry? Oh, we have one that was in the packet, the dedication of, I can't believe I forgot to say this, and I won't cry this time because I cried at the dedication, which is very much unlike me, but I had a moment. So we had the dedication for the ticket booth for Amy Gallagher, and that was done through the Memorials Committee because they're the people who decide what we're gonna name things after. And so it was very, very well attended. Amy's passing is certainly something that hit this whole community, but really hard at the middle school. So, and like I said in my little speech that I gave, if you were ever looking for Amy Gallagher after school hours, you just had to look at Miller Field because she was there, whether it was cheerleading, whether it was special needs Olympics, whether it was football game, Amy was always there. She was everywhere. But to have her name on the ticket booth, and I said a ticket booth is an opening in a building, I actually looked it up, an opening in a building that lets in air and light to welcome people and take care of people in the public, because that's where you go, you get your ticket. And I talked about how Amy was that ticket booth inside the school, like the school was the ticket booth. When kids would come in, Amy was the one that was at the front door, welcoming kids, bringing the light, bringing the air to kids, and just giving them that fresh face and that big smile that she always had. So to dedicate the ticket booth kind of is pretty symbolic of Amy and who she was. And then I had a little sappy little speech that I gave after that about having her, and I really truly meant it, to have her in a spot in our school named after her where she can just watch us all. She can just continue to watch sports, and she can continue to watch Special Olympic activities and anything else that happens on Miller Field, and protect us. And that's what Amy always did. So now to have her name on something that we can look at when we're not feeling so good and to say, hey girl, you're still here, was pretty special. She comes from an amazing family who have kept so close. Her sister still works here in the school, Ellen. And they've dedicated so much time to the community at large. I mean, what they do with food insecurity for people and clothing drives for people, and it doesn't stop at the door of the school because they're just that. They're like we called Amy the heart and soul of the middle school, but they're sort of the heart and soul and intertwined into the whole fabric of our community. So it was so appropriate. So we have a tree in the front of the middle school that recognizes Amy, And now we have her name on the ticket booth, which is just so symbolic of who she was. So it was an awesome gathering. There were a ton of people there. And then the Gallaghers had invited some people back to 210 Main, which is a place that I grew up at. If you were born in the 80s, you were at 210 Main. So it was nice to be in the backyard and see all kinds of different folks. So it was really, really a nice night. And then the football team played after that and went on to win. I didn't get to stay for that, but, so it was good. It was good, a really nice night. So that was our public relations for the week.
Thank you.
I have one more thing, actually.
Yes.
Just a polite reminder to all parents, if you haven't, please drop off your applications for lunch. Although we are, gratefully, through the state of Massachusetts, we are free lunch, your applications are actually very helpful because it, even though you may not be qualifying for certain benefits, if you qualify for free lunch, we get the full reimbursement for it. Plus, you then qualify for other fuel assistance, and through NSTAR or National Grid, where we can give you a letter and you can get fuel assistance during the winter time. So it's very important, for families who haven't done it yet. Please drop it off. You can drop it off at the business office, or you can drop it off, at your school's main office.
Thank you. Any other public relations? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Berry, second by Ms. Petrie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Hearing none. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Lisa? Drop this off.